Okay. All right, so these are the different types of mouths that I tend to see with this project. We're going to do it in order of simplest and also less destructive on my demo noggin to the toughest one, really. So yeah, open mouths with teeth or tongue exposed, definitely one of the toughest. Pinch pot also is kind of tough, but I see a lot of the thin line ones. Okay, and sorry. Yeah, and if your character doesn't have a chin, then I think we just have to look at it. You don't have to add a chin if your character does not have a chin. A mouth is one of the requirements. So eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and hair are the requirements. Chin, not necessarily required. Doesn't really show up in the criteria. All right, so with mine, look around for my tools here. If I was to have a thin line on the mouth, just like this, I mean, that's okay, but it just really looks, compared to everything else, it looks incomplete. It doesn't really make any sense. And I find this is the case for most of the noggins. So instead of just drawing a line in there, you can add a little clay. Okay. So I've got my clay here. I'm going to roll a little coil. You're not going to leave it like that either. Like that looks ridiculous. And it doesn't make much sense with most of the noggins. Yours, it could. So I hate to say that and then it's actually the perfect solution for you, but for the most of us, it doesn't really work. So for every single piece of clay, you're gonna hear me say this 1,000 times, you need to score the surface and score the clay you're gonna attach, and then you use slip. My slip is really dried out. So I got my slip here, there. And then when you attach it, you want to press down. So you got to make sure your noggin can handle this. Press down so there's no air pocket behind. And you also kind of wiggle it around a little bit. Make sure there's no movement. And then you blend it. Blend it down. It's going to look a little silly until I start shaping it. Don't worry. Now I have sort of a realistic character here. So any type of mouth that I add that's not realistic is going to look a little goofy. So you'll see the transformation. All right. So that mouth looks strange, like it's been kind of sewn shut like a horror movie, right? So what I want you to do is add a coil, but then you can go in and draw your line, your toothpick. And if you open the mouth a little bit, it's a little uneven. Let's see if I can get that open without me cutting into it. I just have to use my, it becomes a little more interesting. I'm just looking for something that's not going to put weird lines into it. The end of my fork, my plastic fork worked really well last time. I don't see anything. Okay, just gonna have to use my thumb. Now he's got kind of a sneer, huh? Yeah. So this is a lot better than just that one line. Like it just already feels better. Yes, I need to adjust the sides and get rid of this weird skin thing, but that is a million times better than just a skinny, thin line that doesn't do anything. All right, so sticks out a little. This basically is kind of that there, but Stewie's mouth. So what I'll see a lot with these characters that no matter if you're looking at their the front or the side, their mouth is always sideways. So what I'll see a lot is this. And that is not Stewie's mouth. Stewie's mouth sticks out a lot more. So it's the same procedure where you get a coil and you add the clay. I'm just going to grab a thicker piece of clay. And this is where I should score and slip and agitate and smooth. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to attach it. This was not permanently attached. This will come right off, which is also part of the reason why I'm not attaching it properly. And so you add this monster piece of clay so that right underneath the nose, it sticks out. That last piece of clay was too skinny for this. And then it's the same steps. You go like, and it's not going to look like Stewie because this character doesn't look like Stewie, but this Stewie's mouth goes out like that. And then we want to bring that down to kind of mimic what happens in the cartoon. But the sides, the corners of the mouth do stick out like that for him. So that's basically Stewie's mouth. Just clean it up a little bit more, spend time on that. All right. Any questions so far? They pop up, but I'm gonna block them out so we can't see people's names. So feel free to ask a question. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna move to realistic because that's an additive method. Thin but open mouths is a subtractive method. So let's go ahead and tackle this one. So realistic lips are usually in two parts. And if you have a male character that has realistic lips, a lot of times students feel like the lips look too feminine. So they go with something that's closer to this, like a version in between. So I need a piece of clay for the bottom that looks like the bottom of a boat. And all I do is grab a piece of clay and make a little coil that tapers in the corners. And for realism, our mouths usually, that's not quite a straight line, but usually goes to the middle of the eyes. Of course, these eyes don't match, but so something a little bit like that for the bottom lip. And then the top lip is also a small coil. It's gonna look silly until I get it attached. Like, yeah, that looks ridiculous, right? Yeah, actually, to me, it doesn't look so bad. And then, of course, nothing's going to look realistic until we fill in this area up here, which I usually do after I make the lips and attach them. Because our nose, most of us, our noses, you know, when you look, our lips just don't jut out. They're attached to our skin, so it should come out a little bit at least. Right. Okay, so I would score, slip, agitate, and smooth, right? I'm gonna start with the bottom lip. And again, this will not stay. This is gonna come right off. Okay, this is in the center. And this is just sort of gonna be a regular smile. I think I can show you how to shape it. And then this one too. Just blend that in there. Get it blended. Okay. So once I have that attached, then I can go ahead and add a little bit of clay under the nose. Look like a little mustache for a second. This is a little challenging just because there's not much space to work. And I'm definitely going to have to add a chin. So this one, I'll show you how to add a chin. All right. It's a little bit better. Okay. All right. So for realistic lips, They taper in the corner, but they also go back because they are attached in the corner to our skin, and our skin curves back around our skull. So that's the same thing. The lips are not flat. They push back. And so I'm just flattening these out on, well, I'm pushing down so that they conform to the shape of the noggin first. And then I'm going to go in and redefine the expression because we kind of lost it a little bit. So if I want to have it go up like that, I just use the toothpick. Now we are going to be using, you get to choose your glaze colors. So you do not have to draw a lipstick line around the mouth. That is not required unless you want to. Get rid of that line. So now it definitely has a little bit more of a one-sided smirk. I can go in and, well, I want to add that little push right there. And, you know, some characters, their bottom lips stick out more. Some characters, their top lips stick out more. So it really just depends. And that goes for people too. So you have to figure it out. Like if this is supposed to be me, I know my top lip sticks out more. And actually that's a giant bottom lip for me. I have really thin lips. So I also, this would probably be further down because I have a big space underneath my nose. And I just start shaping the lips, you know, I just took my thumbs and went boop like that. That kind of works, right? And I can go in and draw the lines of the lips if I wanted to. I could open the mouth up a little bit. Right. In the corner here, if I want to have it really look like it's smiling, you can add cheeks. So it's just adding clay, and you would have to score, slip, agitate, and smooth, all the same rules. Let me add a bigger piece of clay. It works better to use sound effects to attach things. You didn't know. We're going to add that little cheek to make it really feel like it's smiling. You have to be careful though that there's no air pocket underneath. I have this sculpture in my classroom called Mr. Cheeks, and it's because somebody put cheeks on him. It's really big too, and the cheeks just went, just blew right off. And so he's a good example of what happens. Okay, so now I have to kind of clean that up. Yeah, that looks better, right? Yours may not have that though, so may not have little cheeks sticking out. And then when it comes to a chin, because this character kind of needs a bigger chin, it's the same deal. You can add clay, but you're gonna have to make sure there's no air pocket underneath, otherwise it's going to blow up. It totally will. Nothing I can do about that. If your guy has a little goatee or a beard, this could be the time you add it. It's totally up to you. But adding clay around the noggin will soften it up a little bit, which might be a good thing for us at this point. This project usually only 2.5 weeks is about as long as we normally take on this because it starts drying out so much. Okay, so I am following all the rules for the chin. I'm hoping this survives. There, I probably could have scored a little bit more though. And then I just move the clay around and try to get it to be a little stick out a little bit. Make sure that's all blended from behind because that will cause a problem right there. If you see anything like that on your clay, air will get underneath and just pick the chin off. It'll just fall right off in the kiln. So you really need to make sure it's all one piece of clay. That's always your goal, no matter what you're making. Okay, look at that smirk. All right, Okay, any questions about this one? All right. All right, I'm gonna put this one over to the side, and I'm gonna grab a different noggin. Let's see. Nope, what's this one? Oh, looks like I used that one for a demo too. I might have to use this one. Okay. All right, means we have to take the lips off. Kind of sad. All right, well, we have to take them off anyway because I didn't attach them properly. See, right there, air pocket right there. Okay, it's meant to be. Okay, thin line, open mouth. Let's kind of just smooth all this out. I'm keeping the chin, I attach that properly. I'm keeping the cheek, I attach that properly. I'm just gonna smear that clay down so it conforms to the shape. All right. So thin line, let's see. Got a smile here. For some reason, I keep drawing them crooked. Okay. This, I don't even know. I mean, I guess I count it, but I don't count it for very many points. So you would lose points if you just left your smile like that. Even if you just drew it in, the goal is to be as 3D as you possibly can and still stay true to your character, right? So this, yes, I know he has teeth, but you might as well just draw it on a piece of paper. I mean, otherwise, the whole point of taking ceramics is you get to build it. So I have these teeth that are lined up exactly the same as the upper lip. So that doesn't make much sense. The teeth are always behind the lips. So I'm gonna grab my little tool here that I made with the paper clip, attach it to my fork. Yours might be on the end of a popsicle stick. And I'm just gonna carve out the mouth a little bit. So that way it looks like the teeth, I know it doesn't look right yet, but it'll look like the teeth are behind the lips. So this is about the minimum you can do and still have it look 3D. See in a second. I gotta get the corners. Usually the corners, it goes back a little bit more. There. All right, and then I can go back in and draw my teeth in. A little bit better. You know, I could have a bottom row too, which would probably mean like you need to make them feel like they're individual teeth if that's the case. I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just going to kind of push back. And I'm going to kind of start carving out a little bit behind it. So it really does feel like the teeth are coming from behind. And this will start to feel a little more 3D. I have to go in and perfect the shape and everything like that. You know, if your character has braces, you can carve around so the braces stay or add braces. If your character has a gold tooth, you can do that with glaze, but maybe that one stands out a little bit more. But I mean, this is pretty flat here. So if I wanted to make it even a little more 3D, which is of course always your goal, I grab a coil and I'm going to give them a little bit of a lip. Right, that looks insane, but once I attach it, score, slip, agitate, and smooth. I feel like I have to actually score a little bit. Oh, crazy mustache there. Okay. And you wiggle them and you push down. And you always end up using more clay than you need, but that's okay because it gets blended. And then start blending it. So if your character has more like feminine lips, you could do something like that and give them a little bit of that. But if it's more of just a regular masculine or plain mouth, I mean, that's already looking better. And you would do the same thing to the bottom lip. It's a lot easier to shape it right if I really do attach it properly. But the problem is, of course, I've lost my chin, so I would need to add a chin to that. Right, same thing, lips go back in the corners. They don't stand straight up in the corners. Starting to look a little evil, huh? All right, questions about this one? No? No questions? Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this off. See how it just pulls right off? It's because I didn't attach it properly. All right, I'm going to keep this part. Just flatten it a little. Okay. All right, let's just smear that all together. So I want this mouth here. I want to open it up. And I have an example of what that looks like. I probably won't be able to do it exactly the same, but I did this in another class. There it is. This is a weird, think of it like a weird, creepy bunny. Look at that. So it's open, but I didn't open it all the way where you could see all the way. I could, and if I did, that's fine. But I just stopped at that point, and because really it's just how the noggin was made. It doesn't have anything to do with my dislike to open the mouth all the way. It's just what's going on there. So I'm going to see what happens with this one. So same thing. I'm going to have a bunch of like crazy looking weird rabbit characters at the end of this, which is good because I can show you rabbit ears next class. All right, so opening that up. And the thing about teeth, if you have an open mouth, is you want to, if possible, try to keep the teeth attached. You don't want to have to add the teeth after you've cut the mouth out. You can, it's just a lot easier to keep everything from falling apart. So I draw the teeth out. I'm trying to do a little bit different than I did before. And then I'm going to use this tool to start basically scooping out the mouth. Trying to, without destroying the teeth. And this will mean that my teeth will stay. They're not going to fall out if I do this right. If you have any other tools that work for carving, feel free to use them. This is the only one I have here. So it looks like I can't go all the way through because there's a bunch of clay in the way. So by opening the mouth, I'm actually doing a better job with preventing it from blowing up in the kiln because my clay will not be as thick. And how far do I go back? Well, it really just depends on my character. I can stop here. I can go all the way back. I can put glaze back there. So don't worry, it's not going to be like raw clay in the back. That's going to look silly. Okay. This one's messy. So I'm going to take my toothpick and try to pull these little pieces out. My clay's pretty soft, so it wants to stick to everything. And the teeth look okay. So I can add a lip to it if I want to, or I can just carve a little further back. can think about the teeth. Right now the clay's so soft that it's just kind of making the teeth look all torn up, which could be part of the character. Maybe it needs to go to the dentist. So that's all up to me. But I do want it to look like the teeth are behind the lips, so I'm going to pull a little bit of that off. Yeah. I keep working on that. And like I said, I could add a lip to it. What's her time look like? Okay. So if I scored, slipped, agitated, and smooth, I could add a lip to make it really stand out. Looks like it should have a mustache, an evil mustache. Okay. And I can add more clay down here for the chin since I've already thinned it out a little bit. I was probably in the danger zone before and I didn't know. So that's something to pay attention to. But I could scoop out from the inside because I did hollow it out. So that would help keep this thick area from blowing up later. All right, so you got to pay attention to how thick everything is in your noggin. All right, so I have that. And then the last thing with this guy is, what if I want to give him a tongue? Well, I can use glaze and put like red in there if I want. If the tongue is all the way back, this would be really I know, I'm sorry guys, it just always ends up being that way. Actually, maybe it's a distance learning thing, because I feel like the last years they haven't been super scary. But yeah, they do have these crazy looks, huh? It's kind of fun. Can you imagine drinking from a mug with this face on it? I mean, that would be such a great gift to give to someone that you maybe don't like. No. I would love to put faces on my mugs. So, okay, tongues. It's going to get scarier, actually. So if I want to give them a little tongue that just sticks out, something kind of goofy. So a lot of our characters have their tongues sticking out. I could just get a piece of clay and I would have to still attach it. I can't just leave it like this. This is going to fall out. But if I want the tongue to stick out, I should attach it so that it comes out like that, right? And I can form it and shape it so that it looks like the tongue that it's supposed to be for the character, right? This doesn't to me look right, but you don't want to have it sticking out like that. It will never make it. It's going to dry right here and it'll break right off. Okay, so hopefully I can get that out. If I really was determined to have a tongue stick out and like curl up or something, you can do it, but you have to think about it in terms of that it has to have a really large attachment. So I'll show you in a second. This is going to look super scary too. So I got my tongue. It's sticking out of the mouth, and you can see like it's here. This will totally blow up. So if I wanted to have the tongue go up or curl, maybe touch its nose or something like that, right? That would work really well because it actually, if you could get it attached to the nose, then it's going to pull, the tongue itself is going to pull its water. I know this sounds crazy, but it's moisture from this part of the noggin. And then the underneath part would pull moisture from over here. So it actually would keep the tongue from drying out. You might be okay doing this just because the tongue is so thick. This looks completely insane to me. So I'm going to pull that out. That is super freaky. One last one. I see a lot of snake tongues. Okay, a lot of snake tongues. So if you have any type of tentacles or snake-like features, You can't have it sticking out like that. It has to fold in on the face. It has to touch the face so that it can get water from the noggin to keep it from cracking, to keep it from drying out too quickly. So, I mean, really think of it like an animal. It needs water. So if you leave it out here, it's just going to die and break off right there. It'll break off right there because it's not going to get the water it needs to survive. So I know, super weird, but that's how clay works. All right. And then last one is the pinch pot nose mouth thing. And I already went over that with my pinch pot nose people, but just in case anybody missed it, these are usually our animals that have, so Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse has a pinch pot nose, but I'll show you Mickey Mouse's mouth in just a moment. So I just make a tiny little pinch pot, and I don't know if you'll really be able to see it with this character since I already have his face kind of done. But I make my little pinch pot. I spend more time on it than I actually am because demo, you know, you really do want to spend a lot more time making the shape right. This is going to look lumpy and bumpy, but yeah. So you got to use your imagination. Okay. Imagine he doesn't have that mouth underneath. And then once I have it, I need to think about, okay, does he have a big nose and small mouth? If that's the case, I would cut right here. If it's kind of equal, I would cut right in the middle. So I'm going to say big nose, small mouth. Okay, my Dr. Pimple Popper moment. And then when you open it, here, I'm going to take it off of this character. When you open it, then you start and you attach it. So I'd have to like score really well and slip and agitate and smooth and get it really attached before I try to start shaping it. But you can start moving it around, and like if it's a animal nose, you can pinch in, you're going to start to see it. And little kitty nose, maybe something like that. As long as it's not a cartoon kitty. The mouth might need to be adjusted. You may have to add teeth if you do this technique, but teeth could just be, you know, you can add a coil and then you can do what I did before. So, and you just move it around, and then this would end up being, you know, your nose and mouth all together. Mickey Mouse has a pinch pot nose. Now, none of you may have Mickey Mouse, but you might have a character kind of like him, right? So this is his pinch pot nose already attached. And all he has for a bottom lip is a coil. Super simple, because this is the tough part, right? Oh, is just adding that coil and really blending it and making sure you can then shape it, because the top of his lip is really the nose. And you just work with this, and you might open it up, and it's going to look blobby and lumpy until I can attach it properly, which I'm not going to do on this video. Okay, any questions? All right, those are mouths. And I'm going to stop recording, guys.